monthly virtual events because we canceled our festival this year. And as a result, since June 2020, we started virtual events on monthly basis. Except for last month, we had weekly events to introduce the Eastern Indonesia emerging writers in collaboration with Pacar Merah, another Indonesian literary festival. So I would like to welcome you all. Today we're going to have Komik talk. It's all about Maaf. It's very interesting because this is actually not in our plan as a festival organizer, but it was such an honor because in the last 6 weeks we've been working with such talented Indonesian comic artists and also young artists from Mulka project in Yirkala, Northern Territory, and it's just like like unplanned encounters. But the journey itself, it's a very touch my heart because not only because the history that become the background of this comic project or the comic Maaf comic project, very close to my origins, Makassar and South Sulawesi, but also because all artists and people behind these last minute projects who've been working in the last 6 weeks actually put their 100 commitment to make this happen. And here we are with another encounters with Sita and Gina and Dila, three comic artists from Indonesia, and also with Sienna in Yirkala and Billy and other people who work behind Mulka project in Yirkala in Northern Territory, Australia. And I would like to say hello to my longtime friend Roland Kiels in Tokyo. Hi, Roland. How are you doing?
Konnichiwa. Konnichiwa. Hi
Konnichiwa.
from Tokyo. I'm okay.
You're right, yeah?
Yeah, I'm all right. Good to see you, Lily. Good to see you.
Good to see you too here in virtual events. Yeah. And also I'd like to say hello to Hikmat Darmawan, a good friend of mine in Jakarta. You in Jakarta, right, Hikmat?
Yes. Hello, Lily. Hello, all. Nice to meet you all.
Sure. And I see Pak Campbell McKnight. Hi, Pak Campbell. Apa kabar? And everyone in Melbourne and other cities in Australia, welcome. And this is a Makassar International Writers Festival virtual event. And today we're going to talk about a history comic and then the a recent project, a collaboration between Indonesian comic artists and young artists in Yirkala to give to share this creative journey. Yeah, it's only 6 months, yeah, maybe less than 6 months, yeah, since I first sending an email and chat Sita in Bekasi. Say, hi Sita, I just found that you actually the author behind the Hetalia inspired comic called Maaf. Yeah, it's about war spies in the 17th century. And hi Sita, and is Gina and Dila already here?
Yes, they are
Want to
here.
quickly say halo, apa kabar Dila in Balikpapan? Oh, Sangatta ya, Sangatta in Kalimantan Timur is Kalimantan, and Gina is in Jakarta. So before we start, I would like to acknowledge that this project and this event, it's impossible without without 100 commitment from our little team. It's a team actually. So I would like to acknowledge this hard work from Fikriyatir and then Yoga in Rumata Art Space. Also there's Abi who helping us to put everything together as a visual designer expert working with us at Rumata Art Space. And to start this event, we're going to watch Maaf, one of the chapter. It's all about the friendship between a little girl named Makassar and a young boy named Yolngu. So everyone, please mute your microphone and enjoy Maaf. It's a collaboration project between Indonesian young artists and Yolngu artists. Enjoy. It seems that yoga is having a technical glitch. But before we going ahead, still waiting for Yoga to play the comic, and here we are. Thank you, Yoga.
Kololo, Makassar.
Yolngu.
Ara una wangan ngomel koma.
Ya? Wow.
Tuh ni terpa jambang. Araka. Mana numagangan abengo. Maragas kango. Ani. Tulay ni dambang itu atulok koma. Tulay mele jamar kulian. Ani. Katuwe ni rungina. Tulu. Taripang.
Yes, the usual, please. I brought you stuff you asked me. Parang, spare heads, and metals.
Markame. Wakara. Tapir parang. Magni tamurunginya parang gojanaro. Uno po nasan cara po. Nangonya na tawirikin na rival.
Oh, no. I'm nothing compared to Japanga. He's the best sword maker in the Asia.
Makassar tuara nunggu rakki kangana. Aku nira nawangana ani. Nani ura work tun.
A duck-out canoe. We're going to catch teripang.
Wakai. Alilipalay pajamay rabangi.
Yes, we are going to catch teripang to be later sold to Chinaya as a delicacy. We can make a fortune. Where have you been, Yolngu?
Tuara kangana kaliwali. Pengu delking wangango.
Hey, what are we hiding?
All right, I'm ready.
Aku dini kari na rakki anu ka pendaya.
Because I can swim, I'm going to dive down there looking for teripang. If I don't resurface in 5 minutes, please pull this rope, Yolngu. My life is in your hands.
Yaga. Ara nunggu rojama.
Do you have a death wish or something?
I hope he's all right.
You forgot that this is Australia. He's probably get stung by box jellyfish, get eaten by saltwater croc or shark, or get stung by catfish.
Yolngu!
Jaga. Ngerti tu.
Okay.
So, Imaginator has once again failed to kill you, eh? Mortals. Pity.
Wow, Yolngu, that's a big catch.
Nah, ni jalim na teripang. Nakun ngata. Waka.
These are for Chinaya and Japanga. They eat everything that have legs except table and chairs. Assalamualaikum Pangeran Marege. We, the Makassar, would like to ask your permission to fish teripang in Kayu Jawa.
Tuali alunduk menjina. Kurutomi. Ekawaru. Dia tak bayang mana mulkul dia wangi.
Don't be silly, Yolngu. You have the right to be consulted about any activity that is to be conducted within your estates.
Yo. Dia ada kugatana. Ada nunggu gatana. Deku kurutu. Woi, ada cina. Kol-kol orang-orang.
Yolngu!
Ada tua. Wangan murah. Tua berlengket. Pelingul cawanga. Nah, mawa.
I think the prophecy doesn't exclusively only happen to me. Maybe it could also apply to everybody else. Malaya and Tawalisi, the white men attacked them too. They're all after my spices, nutmegs, cloves, and maces. Even India can't hold them back. They're too strong.
Tiyan ini. Arakana. Ku alam mungkin ini. Apalong arakana. Ni ada kurutu mina tengok pula. Kuna ini balanda nama laga apa cica garun ya. Araya kau nunggu jalan niru kereta. Pleni ya cuma malah. Nah bagi.
I can't be with you. My siblings need me.
Niru orang tuan kurutu mina malah nunggu marah malele. Adip minguna, babuk minguna, ngati minguna, marip minguna. Marang iriyak ka nga bagi mo puraki.
I can't. This land belongs to you and your ancestors. I have to go back home. Terima kasih, Yolngu. You are very kind. Thank you for accompanying me on my voyages.
Lecu daikun katura nuka berkelecu. Makassar.
Yes, Yolngu?
Karena orang aku yang gina. Nah, kau tuh nunggu pras dan jengan gura tuh lupa.
I want to go over that sundown way. My sisters are there.
Tuh jengan gura tuh lupa. Unih alak kamangai orang mercina. Dan ngutung kareru. Irung araku. Ya kaya. Kalau kau nang ero jodohin. Tiada irung ngajak bolong ora.
I can't, Yolngu. If I wait until sunrise, my perahu will miss the angin darat.
Ngare ingat bening ngar kujal.
Don't worry. I promise to visit Marege again next year. I'll come back and bring lots of presents for Yolngu.
Siapa na? Karerukal ko nunggu dia, kuna nirurungi. Markami, aratu dia nunggal kun kuna nirurungi.
Sebab ada pesan yang selalu kau jaga hingga turun-temurun melintasi zaman. Di tanah tua kesuburan dipanjatkan dan di semat kebaikan.
Okay, everyone, that was Maaf, telling story about friendship between a little girl named Makassar and a young boy named Yolngu. And Sienna is joining us now. Hi, Sienna, in Yirkala. How are you?
Hi. I hope everyone loved it. I loved that video so much.
Okay, so just to put a context, that this is a cross-cultural collaboration project between Indonesian young artists. They are in Makassar and Bekasi, Jakarta, and also in Sangatta, East Kalimantan, working with Sienna staffs and friends at Mulka Project. Thanks to Billy. Is Billy there joining you?
Billy can't join today, unfortunately. He's living out in the homelands, far away.
Far away. All right. So this is just the beginning, because we'd love to develop this project, as a cross-cultural project between Makassar and our Yolngu friends in Yirkala. Now, I would like to say hello to Sita, or Dania Sita Dewi, the author behind Maaf, the Spice War comic with a historical background from the 17th century. Hi, Sita. Before you start your presentations and explain about why we end up doing this cross-cultural project in 2020, how did we actually get to know each other? There's so many stories behind these encounters, but before that, I would like to read your short profile, to start before you start your presentations. So Dania Sita Dewi is the artist behind webcomic Maaf, published from 2011-2014 in DeviantArt. If you are a comic fan, you might quite familiar with this platform, DeviantArt. Her pen name is Dinosaurus Gede, or in Indonesia, that's Indonesian, that's Sita's pen name, or in English, if we translate it into English, it means the giant dinosaurs, The comic subject is the 17th century Spice War. A portion of the story focuses on Indonesian seafarers from Makassar who visit Yolngu people in northern Australia to fish teripang or sea cucumber. They process, ship, and sold the teripang to China. The characters are anthropomorphization of nation, drawn in anime style adapted from the Hetalia Japanese series. So here we're going to learn a lot about Hetalia and Japanese anime. And we already have Roland and Hikmat also to join us with in this event. So the comic itself attracts around 700,000 viewers. So from 2011 to 2014, it's a huge number actually, mostly from Southeast Asia, Australia, and the Netherlands. Readers' response has been positive, with some quoting that they can learn from their history exam from this webcomic alone. However, the webcomic stopped production in 2014 as Sita is really busy with 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 her study, and she's currently enrolling as a PhD student at the School of Business and Management at Institut Teknologi Bandung in West Java. Okay, so time is yours, Sita, please.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to share my screen for the presentation. Here we go. Okay, can everyone see this? Is it visible? Okay, thank you. So we're going to delve about the comic itself, only a portion of it. So this is Maaf. It's a web comic as mentioned by Kak Lily. It's a comic post in DeviantArt by me. And most of the subject is on the spice war. However, we put some portion around the neighboring nation affected by the spice war itself, with the main characters Indonesia and the main antagonist as the Dutch East India or the VOC or the Netherlands. Do I have to say in Indonesia as well, Kak Lily, or I just go through with English? Okay, I'll just say in English aja. The translation for the Indonesian is visible in down below. And then the origin of the comic. So basically, I got the inspiration from a famous webcomic named Hetalia, made by Japanese author Hidekazu Maruya. It's a historical comedy personifying countries, and they poke lightly at the culture and the history and try to make the history more approachable for common readers, especially teenagers, which is at my time was very, very popular. And this is the characters of the Maaf. As you can see, there are various characters, personification of countries. We can see here in Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, China, Australia, France, Belgium, Turkey, UK, up until Ghana, Egypt, India, Spain, even Al-Andalus as well. But we want focus here of all these nations. We only focus on Indonesia and Australia. Oh, wait. Okay. Can you still see the my PowerPoint? Is it still visible? Hello?
It's
No.
not visible now.
It's not visible now. You need to start your share screen again. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
is it visible now?
Yeah, we
Yep.
can see it now.
Okay. Well, the previous artwork was made by a Japanese artist named Tatewaki. She likes my comic, and so she draws fan art for me, including all the characters. And this is we're going to focus on Makassar and Yolngu. We will focus on the portion of the story which focus on them. Basically, from the early 17th century, the Indonesian seafarers from Makassar sails to visit Yolngu, people in northern Australia. And since Mr. McKnight is here, I'm a big fan of your book because most of my literature source is from your book, Voyages to Marrakech. I really, really appreciate and I love your writing. It's easy to understand and it's very enlightening because at that time I have no idea about their relationship. All I know is my first exposure to Makassar and Yolngu relationship is due to a song by Yotu Yindi called Makassar Crew, and then I was intrigued, and then I look up, oh, is there any academic literature or a book detailing about this relationship? And then I encounter your book. It's in we don't have the hard copy here in Indonesia, so I have to look up Google Books, and they only posted just some samples pages. It's quite difficult to get. So, but even the small sample of pages I acquired from your book is very impart knowledge on me about the Makassar and Yolngu, because frankly I'm not a Makassar, so
Sita,
really happy to get.
Sita, you know it is in Indonesian now too.
Yes, I'm in
There's
Indonesia.
Indonesian translation in Makassar.
Oh, Indonesian translation. I couldn't find it at my place at that time. I'm in Bandung. I couldn't find your book, so.
From Ininawa in Makassar.
Yes, we're going to send this Indonesian and Indonesian translation to Sita's.
Yes.
And
Okay.
Sita, send me an email.
Oh no, you meet your no, you speaking to Pak Campbell. Okay,
Oh my
Sita.
God. I'm sorry. I'm so happy with this. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, moving on. So these are the character design for the Yolngu and Makassar. They are collaborators in the teripang industry. This is Yolngu. He lives in northern eastern Arnhem Land in northern territory of Australia. And this is Makassar. He's a teripang catcher from southwest corner of Sulawesi in Indonesia. So this is the character design. Frankly, in 2011, because I'm not a Makassar and I don't have access to the Yolngu community nor the Makassar community. At that time, I was in Bandung. So I have to research. My only source of research was the Google. So I Googled a lot about the characters. I don't know, maybe this is, I'm still learning. So if there are any mistakes or I need revision about their character design or it's culturally inappropriate, just tell me. So this is the two bases for my character design, the Yolngu dancers and the girl in baju bodo. And this is the art made by Dila Pratiwi. She helps coloring the artwork. She's a professional artist. And then this is, we're going to just delve into some of the pages of the Maaf comic just to get the historical background of why I draw this. So basically, this is the trade route of teripang from Australia and China. So at that time, Makassar was a big trade, was a metropolitan trade city, a port city. However, because of the Dutch POC treaty, they forbid Makassar people to trade in lucrative commodities, except for teripang. That's why at that time the Makassar people look for teripang, turquoise shell, and agar-agar all the way to Marege or northern Australia in order to catch teripang to be later sold to China, because they believe it bring medical properties if you ate teripang. This is the trade route. And this is the Patorani, or a traditional fishing boat from Makassar. My only source is only visual images like this. I haven't visited the real ship, so please forgive my crude drawing. I'll do better next time. So it is historically used since the 17th century by Goa Sultanate. So since the trade was go back to 17th century, so we can conclude that, oh, they probably use this boat as well. At that time, I haven't read Professor McKnight's book because it seems the boat is a bit different, yeah, but I will research better and going forward. As you can see, this is the picture. And then for the scenes where they catch teripang and then they smoke it and then they dry it, this is taken from Professor McKnight's book again. There's a art, the Makassar people at Port Essington on the Cobourg Peninsula in 1945 by H.S. Melville. They used the boiling pit and the smokehouse to dry teripang. And maybe in the future, I would like to ask more up to Sienna Stubbs because she has experience looking for pots and going to beaches where the terapanger the Yolngu people catch teripang. So I can ask about what the situation is there like. And now I have this connection with Sienna and Khalili and Professor McKnight. Maybe I will do better research going forward. This is just the draft. And then this is the rock painting. This is taken from paper by Russell. They depicted the rock painting, so I incorporated into the comic as well. So this is the Perahu Makassar, a bigger boat compared to the previous boat. So it has 3 sampans in there, so it can put much more people compared to the previous boat. And then this is from Sienna. So during our work together last month, she shares with us about the pots and the beautiful artwork by Yolngu artists, and it inspires me to incorporate some of them into my artwork. Maybe going forward, I'm going to learn more with Sienna stuffs about the artwork and their meaning, because their color and their meaning have their the color and the shape have their own meaning, which I still need to learn much more in the future. And then this is the departure. So they was talking about the standing perahu mast. So it's mentioned that this is taken from Stephenson's book, The Outsider's Within. I directly quote on it. Makassar Mang sun out when he raised a mast, and when he did that, all of us black men ran from our camps to see him go, because all of us knew that when the Makassar was ready to go away, some people would say, "What's the matter with those Makassar? What are they doing?" And another people would say, "Oh, they are going to another place because their mast is standing up straight." This is what inspired me to draw this exact scene. So they asked, "Why is your perahu mast standing up straight?" Then the next scene is more or less taken from the same quote. This is the continuation. "This is all the same as a dead man because he's ready to go away. We people say the same thing about him. What is the matter with him? It is like the dead man saying back, I'm standing up straight, I'm going away, just like an old Makassar saying, I want to go over that sundown way. My grandfather is there." So it incorporated into the, forgive my oval writing, my dreadly oval writing. So I incorporated to the dialogue. "I want to go over that sundown way. My sisters are there instead of my grandfather is there." And then symbolize a final farewell, a departure for the soul to their final resting place. Is the rest is taken from Stephenson's book, but I didn't put it here because it's way too much. Okay, and then for future works, because this is only a snippet of the story of Makassar and Yolngu, which I'm sure it's very, very rich and more to that. So we can, in the future, we can work on the teripang trade route exploration from Makassar to Arnhem Land to China. And the crew can stop in various ports in Asia, such as Manila and then Xiamen, before going back to Makassar. And this picture is made by, this picture is made by Gina, and this the artwork was inspired by Sienna Stubbs' photography. You can see the pattern here, the coloring, as well as this artwork as well was inspired by Sienna Stubbs, especially when she shares about the pottery and the artwork. It's very inspiring for us. And then future comic as well can work on the maybe this is just my hypothesis. There are not yet evidence about this, but maybe we can imagine in the old days, the Yolngu men joined Makassar crew to sail and learn the trade language to negotiate better deal for teripang trade, and then maybe both together with other crew sailing went to China, as far as China, before going back to Makassar and then going back to Marege or going back to Arnhem Land, and then to share the stories about their voyages. How about that? Maybe it can be for future projects, for future comic. And then these are my references, mostly from Professor McKnight books, The Voyages to Marege, as well as Stevenson. as well as from papers like Russell, Jordan, Skinner, and Blair. I think that's all for me. Okay. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Sita. Wow, I'm having goosebumps actually.
Oh, Bu, I just remembered, if you have The Outsider Within book by Peter Stephenson, can you
I
share
will
with
buy
me
one
too?
for you. Don't worry. Anything, anytime.
Yes, please. Sienna too, if you can share anything, share it with me. Okay, thank you.
So everyone.
Yes, everyone.
All right. All right. So thank you for your presentations, and to all participants, could you please turn your mic off? Excuse me. Can we, before we continue, for all participants, could you please turn your mic off? All right, now. So thank you so much, Sita. So here we present this the map, yeah, to give just to try to picture the encounters and connections. So we've got Arafurasi, and now Gina is also working with more and more artworks, yeah, inspired by these encounters, which I think is very amazing. And we actually at Makassar International Writers Festival are looking forward to work with you, all of you guys. So from Makassar, you in Jakarta or Bekasi, or Gina also in Jakarta, and we got Dila in Sangatta, ya, East Kalimantan. I would like to take you all to Yirkala. Hi, Sienna. Sienna, are you there? You can turn your mic
I'm
and
here.
video.
Hello,
Where is
everyone.
Sienna? Is Sienna here? Okay. Hi.
Yes.
So everyone, this is Sienna. Sienna is a young Yolngu artist in Yirkala. And before we explain a little bit about the like the pilot project, yeah, giving voice and then do some workshops and discussion about the comics, and then how can we work in the future together. Sienna, please share with us your impression, response, and even interesting stories when you have this discussion with the Indonesian artists after you learn that they're actually Sita with this huge work of Komik Maaf, and then you've got this one chapter that tells a story between Yolngu and Makassar.
Well, it's actually really amazing because it was only a month ago, or a month and
4
a bit.
or 5 weeks, yes.
Yeah, that we met. and within that time, we came together, we shared our stories, all over Zoom. And you know, we're learning about each other's culture, and then, you know, I had to try and find someone that I thought would be a really wonderful element to this, to add his voice, and that was Billy Wanambi, Ngalakan Wanambi. And I'm really proud of how he did, and with the work of with the help from my brother Ariane Bambung Pearson, he helped to record that audio, and we sent it over, and you worked your beautiful magic to put the audio and the visual together, and it was just so amazing to see how this all came together in such a short time.
Thank you, Sienna. I have one question for you. So the previous version of the Yolngu and Makassar connections in Komik Maaf, actually using lots of Australian slang. Yeah, it's a white Australian slang. What do you think when you first actually read the original version?
It was very not. It was a little bit confusing when I first saw the first version, and I thought, do they know what Yolngu, how Yolngu speak? And well, obviously I thought no, because Sita has never been here, and there's a lot of information out there, but it's not very known by international people about what Yolngu people culture, Yolngu culture. And we've just doing NAIDOC week now. There's over 200 nations around Australia, and I still have so much to learn about all the other nations that we have here. And when I first saw that, I thought, well, this is a chance to do that collaboration and make sure that we know, I can share Yolngu culture and Yolngu language, and we can collaborate to make sure that the Yolngu side is shown. And I'm just so happy that we pushed through that, and we made sure that Yolngu language is in there, and that dialogue seemed like it was correct from a long time ago. But it was beautiful.
Just to add the voice, the original language. Maybe next time we should work with Makassar language, instead of English, So Makassar and Yolngu language. And I heard that Makassar actually become a lingua franca. Correct me if I'm wrong, Pak Campbell, I mean, like how actually Yolngu and Makassar teripangers actually communicate back then.
They used Bahasa Makassar, and you can see that from all the words, the place names that Yolngu still use that are in Bahasa Makassar, like Batu Lompoa on Groot Island, Batu Lomba, Batu Lompoa. It's not Batu Bazar or Batu Maraja or something. It's Batu Lompoa. It's Bahasa Makassar.
And then, Pak Campbell, what is your comments on Sita's comic? You saw there's a koala there, and then actually Makassar.
I liked it. I laughed at the koala.
Is there koala and kangaroo in Yirkala?
My mistake. Sienna just told me that there's no koala there. I have no idea.
But that's what I love. That's what I love about it. It's sort of for the audience. It gives them a recognition. While it
this is Australia,
that this is Australia, and it's that same anthropomorphism of Australia.
Yes,
and I really like the bit about the mast standing up and going away. That Sita, you understand how a mast can stand up because it's a tripod mast. There's a special in South Sulawesi boats that you don't find elsewhere in Indonesia about how you can lay the mast down and then you put it up again.
Yes. Sita, do you have any comment?
Oh, yes. Please tell me more, Professor McKnight. I would like to learn.
I'll tell you afterwards.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So you can exchange email and phone number and postal address. We send you more books after this.
Maybe we can work on more comic in the future. I can ask,
of course,
all of you for input because
I think all of my project teams here, Lynette, Leonie, and Lee, and David. I should thanks David for finding this Maaf comic through Google Alert. So thank you. And for those who missed the video, the presentations, we're going to put the videos on our YouTube channel after the event. So don't worry, you can rewatch and rewatch, and while this team going to work for the future collaborations, of course. If you have questions, please free to ask a question using our chat box while we are moving to the next presenters. All right. Thank you, Pak Campbell. Now we would like to invite Hikmat Darmawan, a good friend of mine, an author, pop culture, and also a film and comic observer, lives in Jakarta, wearing so many hats at the moment.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I didn't ask it for it.
I think he's everywhere, yeah. Which is good. It means that he's got lots of energy to promote Indonesian culture, and especially in comics, films, and pop culture. Yeah. So Hikmat is based in Jakarta, a prolific and well-known author. I think no one actually do not know you in Jakarta. Everyone knows you, yeah.
No, not really.
Not that famous.
No.
And now he's working for Jakarta Art Council, yeah, as a head of the program. So yes, please, Hikmat, please try to put this history comic in context. Yeah, maybe we should look at the how actually the history comic become an effective medium for us in Indonesia to learn about history. Please. I think you are still mute in please unmute yourself. Okay, cool.
You are okay. Is it on now?
Yes, it's on now.
Okay. Yes, I really enjoyed the comics, the video, the presentation by Sita, and congratulations for Sita and Sienna and all the artists involved in these comics. I read the comics in DeviantArt, the Maaf comic, before reading the current subject about the specific chapter of the comics Maaf. Is a big work, is a huge work, and I like the ambitions. But DeviantArt is, for me, strangely enough, quite an old platform, yeah. Because and I have difficulties to understand the structure of the stories at first, because I'm not used to DeviantArt platform anymore. I was familiar with DeviantArt platform in early 2000, I think, yeah, when it first came up, and it was a novelty, and it was a door to many young Indonesian artists to access the world of comics, and many of the current Indonesian comic artists working in the American comics industry, or even in European comic industry, many began their career in DeviantArt. So DeviantArt became a go-to platform for talent scouting the artists, Indonesian artists, and it became a useful platform, of course, a very useful platform to introduce the art to the world. Yeah, the Indonesian young artists use it very much, yeah, very often. And but strangely enough, I never visited for several years, yeah, the DeviantArt until this discussion. This discussion I read, and wow, it quite confusing for me at first. And so I'm very glad that you have the video version of the comics, and I can capture more the stories, the message, or the nuance, yeah, in the art, and I appreciate it more, the art. And yeah, congratulations, and I really like the ambition. It is rather it is rare, yeah, to have young artists to have that kind of ambition, to have a huge amount of works in one title, yeah, and creating a world itself, yeah, a world in itself that very complete, I think. And it is interesting that it is in the very specific genre, which is the Jinsi, and it's Hetalia, the Jinsi, yeah, Hetalia, from the comic, actually one particular comics in Japan that is very unique in terms of making nations as a person, yeah, personalized version of nations. And it was quite funny also, the comics, the source of the comic. I think it is proper to put these comics into the context of Japanese manga subculture context, yeah. But I prefer to place it in another way, which is I try to place it in the historical comics, history of historical comics in Indonesia. So would you please put my presentation slides, and this is in Indonesia, so excuse me, I try to translate it. This is rupa-rupa cergam sejarah, varieties of historical cergam. Cergam meaning comics in Indonesia. Well, at least some groups of Indonesian comic reader or Indonesian comic collector and artists now using the term of cergam as a way to say that this is Indonesian comics. So this is an identity project, yeah, to use the term of cergam. Cergam itself meaning cerita, gambar. Cerita meaning stories, and gambar pictures, yeah. And it was a popular term for comics in 70s, yeah, 60s and 70s. I think from 50s also some artists and publisher use the word cergam, and now many of the young artists also jumping the wagon to say Indonesian comics as cergam. And in 2000, many young artists also using the term of Indonesian manga. And so we have Indonesian manga and we have cergam, all actually comics. But I think those who use cergam try to define the identity of Indonesian comic, which is not something that I think useful. I don't think it's useful to very useful to try to impose the political identity politics in this matter, in this medium. But I think I use cergam as a term in a kind of a nostalgic way. Yeah, for me, it is a term that I used when I was a kid. Yeah, when I was younger. And so next. Okay, this is one of the first of Indonesian historical comics. It was first published in 1952 in Kedaulatan Rakyat newspaper. It was a Yogyakarta newspaper and created, meaning written and drawn by Abdul Salam. He is one of the most important pioneer in Indonesian comics, one among many, because Abdul Salam also known as an artist that with Sujoyono founded the first Indonesian visual art organization, yeah, with the spirit of modernism in their works, which is Persagi. Persatuan Ahli Gambar Indonesia, or Indonesian Drawing Expert organization, yeah, or association. And before that, before the Kisah Pendudukan Jogja, or Jogja Occupation Stories, there was a comic strip, Roro Mendut, in Sinar Matahari newspaper in 1942. Both are the pioneer of Indonesian comic history, I think, historical comics in Indonesia, I think. And also Kisah Pendudukan Jogja have a distinctive quality as a journalistic comics, yeah, because it's actually a reportage about the situation in Yogyakarta during the revolution time in 1949, yeah, during the Politional Act from Dutch army with their allies, yeah, with its allies. So after that, we see the development of historical comics or historical cergam in Indonesia next. And that become so many subgenres and many varieties of comics. This is Roro Mendut from 1942. As you can see, the word and the picture are separated, and you have the narrative stories in below the pictures, and it's like Hal Foster's Tarzan stories or Prince Valiant, yeah, or more accurately, it's like the Dutch comics at that time, who had similar format. Next. Next. Hello. Next, yeah. This is two panels from Kisah. Sorry, can you go up? Before the page before, yeah. This is from Kisah. Sorry, no. Below. Yeah, after this one, yeah. After this one page after this. Sorry. Yeah, this. Nah, yeah. Okay, this is kisah pendudukan Jogja from Abdul Salam. You can see the details, and it was based from the oral stories of the witnesses of the war at that time. So it was published in 1952 about the 1949 war situation in Yogyakarta. So it's quite close, yeah. It's like a journalistic reportage of the war. Next. So it's not really a story, it's a mosaic of stories, witnesses stories. And this is Abdul Salam work. This is a straightforward historical storytelling about Untung Surapati. And you can see the similar realistic style in the work. And this is becoming one of the popular genres in Indonesian comic history during 50s to 60s. Next. This is published, I think, early 60s, yeah. And you can see this samples of this genre, straightforward storytelling, historical storytelling of Indonesian history. Diponegoro and Bali, Tawan Karang. Diponegara published by Bandung publication, Melody. It is the biggest comic book publisher at that time, which published Ramayana among its success, a huge amount of works of graphic novels. Sometimes it could have more than 1,000 pages of comics in one title. So it's and very successful, and publishing so many genres, and historical comics like this is among the bestsellers of that time. And in the right, Bali, Tawan Karang is from Medan publication, who tried to follow the success of Melody publisher in Bandung. Next. Yeah, next. And Bali Comics created by Delsi Samsumar, and the previous pages, Danila, and this one also by Delsi Samsumar. He evolved. He was exploring the many style of comics, and this one was published in early 70s, I think, and I think one of the first painted comics in Indonesia by Delsi Samsumar about Christina Marta Tiahahu. And next. And still it followed the pattern of the straightforward historical storytelling. But now in this page, we see the variation of historical comics. This is more the a blend of historical account of one particular time in Java, and blend it with the myth or folklore or legend about the particular subject in Java history. This is by Muhammad Rajin, and published in Surabaya. Another big city for Indonesian comics during the early 60s. Next, you can see the clear line style of the comics, which is quite amazing at that time. I don't find it yet how the clear line style as developed by Tintin or Tang in Belgium could have an impact to this Surabayan artist. And this is from Medan, another kind of historical storytelling. By now, you can see that I define historical comics very loose term. Yeah, I don't really define the history in historical comics or historical cergam as a rigid definition. You can have comic like this that exploring the folklore and telling the stories about how the origin of one place in Indonesia. In these comics, the story of Mount Toba or Kisah Gunung Toba by Zamnuddin, the great Zamnuddin from Medan. And next, we can see the samples of these comics in next page, in next slide. First, this is the introduction from Zamnuddin on these comics, and it kind of a credo of his approach of this comic or his comics after this. So Zamnuddin is very known in Indonesia during 60s to early 70s as a very rigid artist to use the realistic approach of his art, to his pictures. And next, we can see his works in Kisah Gunung Toba. You can see also that this is one of the first comics that actually from the beginning of the publication have an intention to publish for international audience because you have the translation under the comic strip, English translation under the comic strip from Zainuddin. You can see the realistic style of the comics, and the story itself is not really a history, but oral history or legend or folklore. Yeah, but he treated it like history, a proper history, at least in the artistic approach of the picture. Yeah, the images. Next. Yeah, and this is another variation of historical comics in Indonesia, romance with the historical background. This is from Teguh Santosa, who produced so many stories in 60s and early 70s with this genre, within this genre, which is historical romance. And you get the action element, you get the romance element, and usually you get the strong female characters element in Teguh Santosa's comic of historical romance. Next, this is just one of his comics, Anyar Panarakan. Next, also we have the similar genre by Mansur Daman or Man and Jair. Jair, who also known mostly by Indonesian reader as the creator of Jaka Sembung. And in late 70s and through until 2000, we have this comic strip, the legendary comic strip of Panji Koming. It's not necessarily a historical comics. It's only a comic that have a historical background during the Majapahit era. It was a comic strip that used historical background as a way to give commentary, social and political commentary about the current, the contemporary politics or social situation in Indonesia at that time by his cartoonist, his creator, Dwi Kun. Next, we can see the samples of the comic strip, this kind of comics. But what is important that Dwi Kun, the creator, also created a more historical comics with the genre of historical parody comics, which is next in next page, please. This is Sawung Kampret. It used the approach of Sawung Kampret used the approach of Asterix, I think. Yeah, you have a parody of historical colonial time in Indonesia and used as a humorous story and use humorous approach to that history. But Sawung Kampret created by Dwi Kun as descendant of Panji Koming. So there you see the connection. Yeah. But in Panji Koming, you have a gag strip published in Kompas, national newspaper, every week, and just one, comics, 3 panels or 4 panels comics. While in Sawung Kampret, he explore more the approach of a comic book or graphic novel with a humorous approach to history of colonial time in Indonesia. And with this kind of development, it is unsurprising to have the next development by the younger artist. Next, I of course only have sketches of the historical comics in Indonesia by these slides, but this is one of the samples that I think have a connection with this work by Sita. This is Merdeka. This is a fantasy history with the style of manga. which tell a story of 4 kids or 5 kids having a time. They have a apa sih perjalanan waktu kok jadi lupa.
Time tunnel.
Yeah, like a time tunnel.
During a time tunnel.
Yeah. Go back in historical times and participate in the war or the action that happened in the history of Indonesia. So it's a fantasy history, but it is a nice approach to introduce history to children, to kids, or to young generation in a fun way. Yeah, I think it's a similar spirit also with the Maaf. Yeah, and so although Maaf, I think more accurately we have to place it in the context of the development of manga subculture in Indonesia. But I think it also have a place in this context in the long line of Indonesian historical comics since 40s, yeah, to the current days, with so many approaches, with so many subgenre in it, and Maaf comics have a place, I think quite special place in this current development of historical comics in Indonesia. So I think that's it for me for now, and we can explore more in Q&A session, I hope. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mas Hikmat.
Yeah.
What an interesting and nostalgic thing to look at this
Right.
Indonesian history comics from 40s, yeah, 1940s to up to today. Now we're moving to Roland in Tokyo. Konnichiwa, Roland. Yes, of course, we listened to Sita's presentation, and she mentioned about this subgenre, Hetalia, one of the subgenre in Japanese anime or comics, yeah. And of course, you are the right person to ask, yeah, about this influence, the influence of the Japanese animations and comics to the rest of the world, and of course Indonesia. And as we learned from Komik Maaf, although the platform is as Hikmat mentioned before, that it's quite old, yeah, old-fashioned, because it's on DeviantArt. Where else actually can we read comics apart from DeviantArt? I'm quite new in this world too. But before we ask more questions to Roland, I would like to read your profile. So Roland Nozomu Kels is the half Japanese author of the acclaimed book Japan America, How Japanese Pop Culture Has Invaded the US. He is also a visiting professor at Waseda University in Tokyo, and he writes for several publications in the US, Europe, and Japan. He's a contributing editor to the Japanese literary magazine Monkey, New Writing from Japan, and has appeared twice at the Makassar International Writers Festival. So welcome back to Makassar, yeah, virtually, Roland.
Thank you very much.
Now,
Arigato.
yes, yeah, yeah, do itesmaste. Now, maybe we should start with the genre, the subject, the subculture itself, yeah, about the Hetalia.
Well, Hetalia, as I think Dita mentioned, started as a web comic, actually, which is, especially at that time, somewhat unusual. Manga there's been a constant activity by fan artists around manga going back to the 1970s. But of course, for many, many years, and to this day, that's still published on paper. However, just 2 years ago, for the first time in Japan, digital manga outsold paper manga. So Japan has actually been kind of slow catching up with the digital revolution in manga and anime. But very, very recently, 2 years ago, digital manga outsold print manga. So Hetalia was in some ways kind of ahead of its time because it did start as a web comic. But the tradition in manga goes back to the post-war era in Japan. And it was very appealing because it was cheap to produce. Almost anybody could produce manga, and it was relatively cheap to purchase, to consume. So it's the advantage there is it's an inexpensive art form. And I think that particular model is just being transposed to the internet. So to your question, Lily, right now you can see a lot, you can read a lot of manga online. And a lot more is becoming available through official licensed platforms. So Japanese publishers are sort of finally realizing that the print form of manga is not going to grow, especially in Japan. And so they have to move everything to digital formats.
All right, thanks for the explanation. Now, after reading Maaf comic, excuse me, could you please just mute your mic for all participants so the speakers can't listen to the questions clearly. All right, Roland, after reading Maaf, do you have any specific comments or you have questions or any feedback to Sita? Because when I first actually tried to follow the story, I'm a bit confused too, just like Hikmat. So that's why I say that, hey, can we try to experiment a cross-cultural project just for this chapter? Because this is actually one chapter that, you know, makes sense for me as a Makassan, yeah? And also now conducting research about the connections between Makassar and indigenous Australia.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was really fascinating for me. I'm just really beginning to learn about Southeast Asian history. And of course, I've been to Makassar a couple of times. It's beautiful, beautiful town, beautiful city. So for me, it's sort of a wonderful way to be educated through manga style storytelling. I also think that comics, if you call it, or manga are kind of an ideal way to learn about history because you get the visual along with the stories, the narrative, the story and the visual together. And of course, you can also have a sense of humor. Most of us think when we hear history, we think of dry academic research, which of course is critical to understanding the truth. But the form of manga enable you to enter into historical narratives with your imagination, which I think is really quite pleasurable. Hetalia, as you know, they anthropomorphize or personify different nations around the world, which is a very, I should say, typical Japanese approach to storytelling. Some of you may know Pokemon or pocket monsters, and they keep growing and growing, and there are more and more of them, and you don't really know exactly what they are. They're just sort of anthropomorphized pocket monsters. So, and some people say that comes from Japan's national faith, which is called Shinto. It's the national faith of Japan, and it's essentially an animistic faith, so that when you look out your window, the trees, the mountains, every element of the natural world has a god in it, a kami or a god spirit. So that means the idea of imbuing an object or a country or a pocket monster with a personality and a character is a very common thing in manga and anime. And I should also say that a lot of manga are quite confusing. Some of you know, if you read manga, sometimes they go on and on and on, and you don't really know where it's going.
It's not a linear storyline.
No,
Yeah.
not at all, and quite deliberately. And one of the things I would mention is that it was interesting looking at the presentation on older Indonesian comics and the tradition in Indonesian comics and see very clearly the influence of American and other Western artists. The presentation mentioned Hal Foster of Tarzan and the sort of mimicry of Western artists. And today, of course, most of the influence is Japanese artists. And not only in Asia, that's true in New York City. When I talk to professors of visual arts in New York City, they say the students they get now, they're all influenced by manga and anime. So it's no longer Spider-Man or Wonder Woman.
Now, so no more DC universe.
Yeah, no, I mean, they go to the movies, but when it comes to illustration and storytelling, it's manga and anime that are the influence.
Why do you think so? Why it's happening?
Well, that's a huge, I wrote a book about that, but.
Yeah, please buy Roland's books.
Yeah, there's a book, it's somewhere, yeah. I wrote this book, and if you pick it up, it tells the story of why that happened. But for one thing, Japan has a great tradition of manga and animation. And any of you who come to Japan, if you've been here, you know that you can find shops that are just filled floor to ceiling with manga about everything, about food, about wine, about travel, about badminton, about soccer, football, whatever. You can find manga about everything. So there's a huge range of topics. And some would say Japan is quite a visually oriented culture. So here in Tokyo, there are images all over the place, the signage, the video screens, imagery. So the idea of telling stories through images is quite consistent with Japanese culture. So there are a lot of answers to your questions, Lily. I can't answer all of them right here, but I also think the visual style from Japan, it's a two-dimensional style that's very much about line work. You can see it in Maaf, the lines, the outlines of characters, their eyes, much more so than the three-dimensional look of, say, Pixar or Disney movies. The Japanese look is two-dimensional, super flat, is sometimes called super flat, where everything is about the sketching and the outlines. And that's a very attractive visual style right now. I think it's very appealing in the digital format as well. So I think there's sort of, as usual, historically, there's a kind of perfect storm. There's a visual style from Japan with a technology, digital technology that are coming together quite effectively. But I just think it's really wonderful. I mean, to learn about the comics tradition in Indonesia and other parts of Southeast Asia, you know, there's a artist named Sunny Liu from Singapore. His book is The Art of Charlie Chan Hok Chai, I think is the name of the book. Yeah. And it's really quite a brilliant book. And it's wonderful to see it's getting all kinds of attention. And I think it's about to be adapted into an animated film.
All right.
Going worldwide. And he's from Singapore. So it's exciting to see these traditions emerging on the global stage.
Okay, and we've got the interesting comments from Sienna in your color here, Roland. So Sienna actually visiting Ghibli studio, yeah?
Yeah, Ghibli, yep.
And then she wrote a poetry performance, but and then developed the story after visiting Japan. And this piece of art actually won Telstra award. Am I right, Sienna? Are you there, Sienna?
Yeah.
Can you tell?
We went on the Shinkansen between each of the cities when we were traveling, and my art piece, actually that one, was a video and a poem that I wrote on the train about time and speed. Because it's funny when you go on the train, how it's going so fast, yet it's so still, and time, you know, the concept of time is warped. That's that was my experience on the train.
Oh, is there anywhere we can read that poem?
You should be able to access it here. I'll write it in
On
the
chat.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'd love to read it.
So Sienna, Sienna recently won this award for young artists, yeah. And I think the work actually was presented in a magnet, yeah, in Darwin. Right. So congratulations, Sienna.
Yeah.
Of course, interesting to look at this. We've got lots of questions here, but last question to Roland. So do you have any comment on Hikmat's presentation, especially because we're following this classical Indonesian comic, the history comics?
Yeah, well, I thought it was a great presentation, and I really appreciated it. As I just said, most of this event, I'm just learning about the rest of the world and comic traditions in Southeast Asia. So thank you for the presentation very, very much.
Thank you, Roland. I forgot to mention that I also used your book when I visited Japan in 2010.
Here you go.
To
nice.
research the globalization of manga subculture. I spent 10 months in Tokyo, but I I didn't reach you. I don't know why, but I could reach you now or later.
You can.
Yes,
next
of
time,
course.
So thank you for your books. It really.
Thank you very much.
It's
Thanks.
it's a high recommended one for those
Please,
who are
please let me know when you come back.
Yeah, of course. Hopefully.
Yeah.
And you should actually read the whole collection of Monkey. Yeah? So Japanese
Yes.
content, new writings from Japan.
Please do. Yeah.
Or
It's a literary magazine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a literary magazine. So I'm a big fan of Monkey. It used to be called as a monkey business, yeah, but now it's Monkey. Wow.
No more business.
No more business, just Monkey.
Just
All right. So here, so all speakers are here now. We have Hikmat in Jakarta, Sita, and of course we also have Dila and Gina in Kalimantan and Jakarta as well. Sienna in Nirkala. Please free if you have questions to all speakers. But first, let me try to read the questions here. Wow. Just check the chat box first. All right. So first question from Subik. This is for Sienna. Sienna, could you please explain more about the place named something Java, a place in northern west of Australia? Or maybe
I'm just trying to think of what that place would be.
Kayu Jawa ya Pak Campbell. Pak Campbell needs.
Yeah.
Campbell, yeah.
Kayu Jawa is the Makassar name for Western Australia, the Kimberley coast, and Marege is the name for Arnhem Land.
So I've actually never been to Kayu Jawa, to the Western Australia, but it's a place that I really want to visit and learn about.
Kimberley, isn't it?
Yeah.
The northern part of the West Australian coast.
Yeah, so
west
it's in,
of Java.
Yeah, it's
or
in,
west of Darwin. West of Darwin.
Maybe Campbell can explain a little.
Yeah, so I think most of the places actually in a northern coastal got Makassar names, yeah, Pak Campbell, because after the encounters, they usually giving the name after the visitors, yeah, the travelers.
If you come from Makassar, if you go around the east end of Timor, Pulau Timor, you get to Arnhem Land, to the Northern Territory. If you go around the west end at Kupang, you come down to Western Australia, to Kayu Jawa. It depends which side of Timor you come around.
And I think this is also for Pak Campbell about the perahu, yeah. This is from Gina. I thought Makassar used Padewakang perahu instead of Patorani. because I saw some Yolngu painting about Makassar ship. The mask looks like Padewakan. Am I mistaken, or they were from different period?
Padewakan is the usual name, but also Palari is another one. Patorani is a special sort of prow for catching flying fish. And that photo that came from Horridge, I think actually I took the photo.
Yeah, so that's what
But that is a
Campbell took the
Patorani.
photo.
Yeah.
Patorani, Patorani.
Yeah, because a flying fish is a Warani.
Yeah, Torani. Yeah, okay. We should actually arrange another lecture with Pak Campbell after this event, yeah? I hope you don't mind, Pak Campbell. Now, next question is from Riela Drianda in Waseda University. I'm just reading this one. Hi, I'm so delighted to see your work and very happy to know that there are many people who are in the same boat as I'm trying to promote Indonesian culture through creative works as well. My question is related to how we as an outsider can apply for collaboration with the Indonesian young artists. What are the biggest challenges for doing this collaboration? Would love to hear from all talented artists here, and sure, I'm looking forward to collaborate with you guys very soon. Should I start with Sita first? Yeah, maybe you can talk about our recent pilot projects in the last 6 weeks or so.
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
You can contact us. Should we share our email, Kalili, or something?
Yes, and also you can approach us through the Makassar International Writers Festival. Yeah, because we need
we
to
can go through there.
Get together and then see what's the future collaborations for this. And as Sienna just mentioned that, wow, this is just the beginning. Yeah, should work and develop the stories because there's so many layers. If we want to tell stories and history between Makassar, teripangers and Yolngu people and other indigenous people in Australia. Okay.
There's so much we can do with this.
Yes.
You know,
what is your in your mind right now, Sienna?
We you know, we all have skills in, you know, art and media and communication, and you know, I've been having discussions with my dad. We can tell this story, you know, and share this story with the world, because not many people know about this, you know, story, and they can see it through maybe possibly a movie or something, you know, a bigger scale project, but it's something that we can work together on to share this story.
Sure. Now, next question. This is from Akbar Amri. Is there a special website that discusses the relationship between Makassar tribe and Yolngu tribe? Who's going to answer this?
I can, but I'm not sure I know any websites that share this.
I think if you go to
Yolngu, not that I know.
Yeah. I think there's a piece of stories here and there. Yeah. I mean, like not a specific website, but for example, if you visit the Australia Islamic Museum in Thornbury, Melbourne, you find a bit history there. And then if you visit this, there's a very wonderful project by an NGO in Sydney. It's called Before 1770. So 1770 represents the period of the Captain Cook. Yeah, before that, there's a lot of stories happening between the First Nation peoples in Australia with the rest of the world, and they actually establish encounters and connections and so on. So visit these websites. But for those who are looking for a specific website about Makassar and Yolngu connections, I'm afraid that we haven't got one yet, Sienna. Or Pak Campbell, do you Do you have comments on this?
No, I don't think. There's no one website, but as you say, the before 1770 is useful. It has good stuff, and it is going to produce a film, a whole hour-long film in due course.
Okay. Yeah, and we are looking forward to watch the film in Indonesia. It's gonna be available in Indonesia next year. Yeah. Right. So let's move to question to Sienna from Dayin Serpong. How did you get connected with Sita? Do you think posting historical comics online will attract contributors, open opportunities for cultural exchange through comics? Sienna?
Sorry, to answer the first question, it was through this collaboration. So I met Lily a couple of years ago when she came to visit Arnhem Land and learn more and for us to collaborate. And then Lily reached out to me and said, we've got a project and we want to work together to learn about Yolngu. And there's these amazing artists who are drawing this story and sharing the story.
All right, and I think the next question.
Lily, can I say one other thing? And
yes.
That is the importance of art in all this.
Yeah.
One of the things that Sienna's dad does is run this fantastic art center at Hetalia. Yes. And say hello to him, Sienna, from me.
I will.
Art galleries is really, really important.
Yes, art is very important.
It's not
really,
just
really
an
important.
art gallery, really. It's not just an art gallery.
There's
it
some
shares stories and it's working to share the story of Yolngu and the beauty of our culture. So that's why it's a lovely art center.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I think the second question goes to Sita. Yeah. What's the question here? Oh yeah. What do you think about history comic? If you put it online, will it attract contributors and create more opportunities for cultural exchange?
Yes, I guess so. Yeah, it's very interconnected nowadays, and especially due to pandemic, we are limited to our exposure to the website, internet. So webcomic is a good start, and people can reach out to you, or if you put email, maybe they can contact you to collaborate, just like Kak Lily, even though it's quite surprising. Yeah, I didn't expect as well.
Yeah, because you said that it was quite a long time ago, yeah?
It's a very old.
2011.
Yeah, that's
2011.
Why at that time the platform available was DeviantArt. Now we have webcomic, webtoon application and other webcomic platform. But in 2011, there's only DeviantArt, so it's pretty confusing and old platform. Yeah, I'm surprised you find me too.
Yes, thanks to David and Google Alert. Hi, David, if you're here. And of course, thanks to Fikri. Yeah, Fikri actually connect everyone for this project. So now, Sita, why you stop producing new comics after Maaf? I'm just curious about this.
So I wrote Maaf when I was in college, when I was a freshman. At that time, it was more like a hobby, and I'm not really putting serious thoughts into becoming a serious comic artist. It's just because I love history and I would like to share with everyone. So I made this comic. And after I graduate, I stopped drawing because I have work and then I have career. Now that I'm doing a higher education, I have time again to draw. And right at that time, Kak Lily contacted me. So maybe I can start working for Komik again in the future. Yeah.
Especially on Makassar and Yolngu context, yeah, because now
Yes.
you've met Pak Campbell in person.
Yes, I'm very, very grateful, Kak Lily, because
All right.
Japanese research.
Yeah, so let's move to the next question. This is for Hikmat from another question from Dayin Sakia. Yeah, Kak Hikmat, I find it quite hard to find Indonesian historical comics, and not many Indonesian historical comics authors are known to the younger generations. Where can we find them? And what is your opinion on digital comic platform in Indonesia? That's for Hikmat. And for Sita, how did you do the background research for the Maaf comic? And are you planning to focus on this into a bigger scale project? Will you focus on publishing it? Thank you. So go to Hikmat first.
Okay, thank you. It is hard to find old comics of Indonesian, classical comics of Indonesian comics. Yeah, I have to widening my searching radar to many people and cities. Actually, every time I visited the cities in Indonesia, in Java, for example, in Makassar, I always try to look the old book shop, the used book shop, and probably I get lucky to have to found the classic Indonesian comics. But in Jakarta, we have the thing is not many, so very little Indonesian classic comics have been archived and compiled in volume, let alone to be republished for the younger generation. The golden era of Indonesian comic publishing probably in 50s and in 70s, and after 80s it quite a decline, and in 1990s many people said that it's quite dead, the industry. Although I found that it's not really that the case. It's not really a dead time for Indonesian comics during 90s, because first we still have small publisher comics still publishing Indonesian comics and marketed to the pasar, traditional market, or lapak, traditional kiosk of magazine. We have Petruk Gareng comics, and also in big publisher they always have religious comics publication that still very big market, had a very, very big market during that time. But overall, we can accept that it's not a golden age of the golden age of Indonesian comics already over. But in 90s also we saw the emergence of independent and underground comics in Yogyakarta, Bandung, and Jakarta. And how about the old comics? Well, we try to find it in the used bookstore, and in Jakarta we have Blok M Square. But now, at least from I think from 2013, 14, many of the used booksellers migrate to the use the Facebook platform. Or now also Tokopedia, the online shop platform. So it is very useful because in Facebook, for example, you have so many of groups that compiling the old comics that we couldn't find it anymore, from collectors. Sometimes they scan it, and from time to time they have a selling of classic, very valuable classic comics, very classical comics that nobody can find it anymore. Usually from the collectors that have double edition or so on. And from that platform, I tried to collect it initially for the exhibition in Frankfurt Book Fair, 2015. There was a section of Indonesian comics history in Frankfurt Book Fair exhibition at that time, and for 2017 in Brussels. So I bought a lot of old comics with my own money, I should say, and still haven't touched the proper amount of comic collection that I could properly exhibit in gallery or in museum or so on. But now, because of the internet also, I could collaborate with collectors to digitalize their collection. And last October, me and my friend in Pabrik Kultur announced the online comic museum. So Indonesian Comic Museum online, and it will be on next year. You can have access. It's not really completed work, of course. So many comics, old comics, still have to digitalize, archive, and so on. But I think it's a start. It's a start of a conversation, and probably we could talk about how we can republish it. Some of the titles actually have been published, but for the collector's market. So it's very limited publication, very expensive, but they restore the art. So they have a very good quality of publication for those limited publication, but it's still a limited publication. So internet help. So of course, about the second question about how about digital comics, it is good. It is great development, of course. We have so many young artists emerging from that platform, and I think it is easier for us now to access the comics with the scrolling things. We could just scroll instead of like in DeviantArt we should click the link to have the next page, and I think it's a great development now. But I think so many young artists try to monetize their work and find it's not that easy to have money from their works through the online platform. So there's still a big challenge for Indonesian comic artists in digital platform.
Yeah, so there's an opportunity, of course, and of course we're looking forward to access your online comic
museum.
Next year.
Next year.
Hikmat. Now this one is for Sita, research and what was the question again? I'm a bit lost here. Okay. You got lots of questions, Sita. You have answered this one, Do you think posting historical comics online will attract contributors and open opportunities? About the research and stuff, and also there's an interesting question here about are you planning? This is for Sita, Dila, and Gina. Are you planning to produce independent comics? So it's not a Hetalia inspired kind of thing like Maaf, but new productions based on these stories.
We're still under discussion, but I hope in the future we would like to publish such comic. Maybe for the platform we will start going to webcomic first. The more popular, more easily user-friendly webcomic platform. And then I think I'm going to work together with two of my friends, Gina and Dila, because they are much better in drawing than me. I think I'm just going to work on the story, and they will put the announcement about the comic in their Instagram if we're going to publish in the future.
Yeah, so just watch, follow us, Makassar Writers. We give you more updates about this project, the Story Lab, working with this amazing Indonesian artist, and continuing our cross-cultural project with Sienna and friends at Mulka Project in Yirkala. And you can also rewatch this event and the comic. And also we've got a very interesting virtual tour to celebrate Naidok Week. We visited Makassar, Rumata Art Space in Makassar, and then travel to visit travel to Yirkala to visit Sienna's at Buku Langgai Morka Art Space in Yirkala. So now, question to Roland. Yeah, hi Roland, is still there? So could you tell us a bit about how actually Japanese audience responds to history comics, and what sort of history that become more popular in anime as a medium or comics?
Well, there's actually a current example I can give you, which is a film called Kimetsu no Yaiba in Japanese, which is Demon Slayer. And it is currently breaking records at the box office in Japan. It's an anime film. It's also a manga series. Again, it's called Demon Slayer in English, Kimetsu no Yaiba in Japanese. Anyway, what's interesting about it is that it is set in the Taisho era of Japan. So the early 20th century Japan, which is a period that most manga and anime completely ignore. Usually when manga series look at Japanese history in particular, they go back to the Edo period in Japan. So, the traditional, you're used to from Kurosawa samurai films, etc., the kimono and the geita sandals, wooden sandals. So it's unusual to go to the Taisho period in Japan, which is a fairly short period of Japanese history. And the story is about a boy's sister who's transformed into a demon. And so it's a supernatural story, but there are a lot of historical elements from Japan's own history embedded in the story. So I actually think that manga and anime are more, the audience is more interested in Japanese history than it was, say, 10 or 20 years ago.
Okay.
A lot of manga back then were sort of futuristic, looking to science fiction, etc. And much more manga now is looking at Japan's own history and traditions. So I think inside Japan, the audience is actually quite interested in Japan, which has changed.
Okay, so there's actually a shift, yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
Interesting to look at the trend now. Okay, thank you, Roland. I think we still have like 5 minutes before we close the event. Thank you very much for your all participations, to Pak Hikmat, Pak Campbell, Sienna, Roland, Sita, Sita, and Gina, and Dila. Of course, Sienna, Billy, and other friends at Mulka Project in Yirkala. Thank you very much. And also,
I just received a message from my father, who is one of the ceremonies that are happening right now that I'm going to go to after this. But he just sent me this photo of Billy.
Oh, that's Billy.
So
Yeah,
all of you, this is the voice of the young Yolngu man, and he is
we're
an
going with,
amazing person.
say hello to Billy. And we've got a comment from Eva here. I think it's important to read this. Where is it? Oh yeah. Talking about the future collaborations, I think you have to consider incorporating Aboriginal culture, because there's a certain laws about selling works that incorporate Aboriginal culture. I'm not sure about this, but Sienna, perhaps you can comment on this.
Yeah, there's important to acknowledge the Yolngu people, and the Yolngu people who are the only ones who create that miki, that special ceremonial art, because it has way deeper meaning than just paint on a page. It tells the stories. So yes, it's important to take that into account.
Yes, and to learn more about Yolngu and Makassar connection, there are actually few productions, documentary films. Last year, the University of Melbourne, sponsored by Australia Indonesia Center, in partnership with Mata Art Space, produced a documentary called Trading Cultures. It's now available through SBS On Demand for Australian audience. And now the Australian Embassy in Jakarta is working with Australia Indonesia Center in Melbourne to make the documentary available. I don't know how, but we're looking forward to see how actually this documentary available for the locals in Indonesia, because I think it's more important for not only for Australian audience to watch and learn about the connections, but as Sita mentioned before, that there's so limited resource available when she started this project. She didn't know how to find reference, thanks to Pak Campbell books, and then try to read as many as possible academic journals available, and just a story behind our conversation. Yeah, when we started this project, Sita said, "Okay, I'm happy to join you, Ibu Lily, but could you please send me a copy of Pak Campbell books in return?" And say, 1 or 2 copies. I don't mind at all. Yeah, Pak Campbell. Now, we would like to extend our big congratulations to everyone who are joining the cross-cultural experimental projects. We're looking forward to work with you guys for the future projects. And Gina, if you on Instagram, please visit Gina Instagram, because Gina's artworks are made available now. Such an excellent and talented artist, Gina, and also with Sirip Ikan, yeah. So if you don't mind to put your Instagram account on the chat box. And for those who are interested to read Sita's comic, we also provide the link there. So enjoy the comics there, and then of course you can reach Sita and Gina and Dila, and of course Sienna and friends in Yirkala, yeah, if you have more questions. And next year we're looking forward to watch the documentary made by the Before 1770 project in Sydney, because I learned that they are now preparing the premiere and screened in both countries, both in Australia and Indonesia. So we're looking forward to learn more about the connections between Indonesia and Australia, Indigenous people in Australia, the First Nation peoples, and Makassar and other parts of Southeast Asia. Thank you, everyone. I would like to say a big thank you to Yoga and the rest team at Rumata Art Space. Could you please helping us to rewatch the comic video once again to close this event? And Say hello to Billy.
Really?
Hey, hello, Billy. He is the young boy in this video. And
Okay.
I love your voice.
Yeah. And through this event, we learned the your language, yes, Sienna. Next time we should put the Makassar language and Yolngu language all together. So everyone, thank you for your participations, and we'll see you in the next event at Makassar Writers. And here's Maaf, friendship between Yolngu and Makassar. Can we turn the mic?
Kololo Makassar.
Yolngu.
Go, ara una wangan ngomel koma.
Ya? Wow.
Tuh ni terpa jambang. Araka. Mana magangan abengo. Maragas kango. Ani. Selain ni rambang itu atur koma. Selain meleja marakulian. Ani. Katue ni rungina. Pulu. Taripau.
Yes, the usual, please. I brought you stuff you asked me. Parang, spearheads, and metals.
Markami. Wakara. Taperik parang. Magni tamurunginya parang gojanaro. Ono po nasan cara po. Nangwanya na tawirikin na rewan.
Oh, no. I'm nothing compared to Japanga. He's the best sword maker in the Asia.
Makassar, tuara nunggu rakki kangana. Aku nira nawangana ani. Nani ura work tun.
A duck-out canoe. We're going to catch teripang.
Wakai. Alili-pali pajamai rambangi.
Yes, we are going to catch teripang to be later sold to Chinaya as a delicacy. We can make a fortune. Where have you been, Yolngu?
Tuara kangana kaliwali. Pengu delking wangango.
Hey, what are you hiding?
All right, I'm ready.
Aku dani kare na rakki anu ka pendaya.
Because I can swim, I'm going to dive down there looking for teripang. If I don't resurface in 5 minutes, please pull this rope, Yolngu. My life is in your hands.
Yaga. Ara nunggu rojama.
Do you have a dead wish or something?
I hope he's all right.
You forgot that this is Australia. He's probably get stung by box jellyfish, get eaten by saltwater croc or shark, or get stung by catfish.
Yolngu!
Jaga, macam tu.
Okay.
So, Imaginator has once again failed to kill you, eh? Mortals. Pity.
Wow, Yolngu, that's a big catch.
Nah, ni jalim na teripang. Nakun ngata. Waka.
These are for Chinaya and Japanga. They eat everything that have legs except table and chairs. Assalamualaikum, Pangeran Marege. We, the Makassan, would like to ask your permission to fish teripang in Kayu Jawa.
Tuali alunduk menjina. Kurutomi. Ekawaru. Dia tak bayang mana mulkul dia wang.
Don't be silly, Yolngu. You have the right to be consulted about any activity that is to be conducted within your estates.
Yo. Ni ara ku katana. Ara nungu katana. Dai ku kuruto. Oi, nali cana. Kol orang.
Yolngu!
Ku, nali tua. Wangan kungura. Tua perlengket. Pelengul Jawa ngaya. Nah, mawa.
I think the prophecy doesn't exclusively only happen to me. Maybe it could also apply to everybody else. Malaya and Tawalisi, the white men attacked them too. They're all after my spices, nutmegs, cloves, and maces. Even India can't hold them back. They're too strong.
Dia nini. Ara kena. Ku alam mungkin nini. Apalong ara kena. Ni ada kuruto mina tengok pala. Kuna nini palan dana malaga apa cica galon ya. Ara ya kunu jalan niru kerete. Pleni ya cuma malah. Nah bagi.
I can't be with you. My siblings need me.
Niru pamtun kuruto mina malah nunggu marah malele. Adip minguna babuk minguna ngati minguna marip minguna marang iriyak nga bagi ngapuraki.
I can't. This land belongs to you and your ancestors. I have to go back home. Terima kasih, Yolngu. You are very kind. Thank you for accompanying me on my voyages.
Lecu daikun katura nuka berkelecu. Makassar.
Yes, Yolngu?
Ara urna ko yang ina. Na ko da nungu pras dane jengan ngura tunupa.
I want to go over that sundown way. My sisters are there.
Tu jengan ngura tunupa. Uni ala kamangai ora mercina. Deng utunggareru. Iru ngaraku. Ya kaya. Kalko kunang ero jodoin. Tiyan iru anggatnya bolong ora.
I can't, Yolngu. If I wait until sunrise, my perahu will miss the angin darat.
Ngare tinggal bening kujal.
Don't worry. I promise to visit Marege again next year. I'll come back and bring lots of presents for Yolngu.
Siapa na? Ada bekal kun nunggu dia. Kuna nirungi. Markami ada dia nunggal kun kuna nirungi.
Sebab ada pesan yang selalu kau jaga, hingga turun-temurun melintasi zaman. Di tanah tua kesuburan dipanjatkan, dan di semat kebaikan.
Okay, thank you everyone. Until next time, on behalf of Makassar International Writers Festival team, I would like to extend our big thanks and congratulations to all artists and everyone who get involved in this project, to Safira and Billy. Your voices were so cute. And if you're able to give your claps, big claps, virtual big claps to all artists here. Do we need to go for foto-foto bersama, the Indonesian style? I don't know. I leave it to Yoga. Yoga, do you think we can do that?
Okay. I'll do it.
Okay, let's open our cameras and then we close
Okay,
this
so
event.
we decide into 3 pages, so 3 times we took a picture. So everyone, let's turn on your camera. Okay. Come on. Okay.
Okay, give us cues. And if you have feedbacks, please send us your feedback and comments. Makassar Writers.
Wait a moment. Okay. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Okay. Now we move to the next page. There is Dayin, Akmal, until Ifa. Okay. Or maybe on. Okay. So. Okay. 1. Okay. Wait. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Check. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Third page still off, and 4 also. So maybe only 2 pages. Okay. Thank you, Ibu Lili.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.